Hey, I'm Chip, and I'm coming to you from the mat. I'm super excited because today we're starting episode number 1 of Chip on the Mat. We have some amazing questions submitted so far. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about staff attrition. We're going to be talking about, was it hard to start your first school? And running multiple locations. Let's get this thing started. Man, am I so excited to be here with you. I can't wait to get this thing started. Talking about entrepreneurship, growing your martial arts school, being a better martial arts school leader, just being a better leader in general, improving your martial arts skills. Man, the show is going to be amazing. It's going to be a barn burner, and I can't wait to get it moving forward.
Lisa Merchant asks, "Hey Chip, how do you deal with losing valuable members of your staff?"
Man, hey Lisa, that is a fantastic question. That is huge. Staff retention, board retention. You have a situation where you have a nonprofit where you have board members that are, they get engaged and they get going, and then all of a sudden their life changes, jobs change, and they have to move away, and they pull away from your nonprofit board, and you're looking for, and how do you deal with it and things like that. Let me give you a quick story. It was about 2 summers ago. We have an amazing demo team at Team Chip and amazing group of black belts, and we had a summer come along, and every summer there's always like a transition, some shifts in and out, and people moving away and changing jobs. And I think people do that a lot of times because school, the kids are out. Now's our opportunity to take a job change or to move to a different town or go to a different place. Man, 2 summers ago, we had 10, count them, 10 very integral black belts from our school leave, move away. 2 families of 5. The younger black belts in the families were a leadership team and assistant instructors. The parents were all instructors on both sides. And man, what a gaping hole it left at our main location whenever that happened. And it hurt. It hurt so bad. Not that they left to hurt us or left on bad terms. It was all great. They had great opportunities to move on and move up in life in the world. And it was a tough time for us because we sat back and had tears and said, oh my goodness, what are we going to do to fill these voids? So I do have some thoughts on that. And I think that that's a very normal cycle that any business goes through. When you're running a martial arts school, sometimes your young assistant instructors, they're gonna come up and grow up with you as students and become black belts. And whenever they get to their black belt and they're in high school and they become a part of your assistant instructor training or leadership team training program, then eventually they're gonna graduate and wanna go off to college. And each time that happens, you almost feel like, wow, I just got kicked in the teeth a little bit and I'm having to start over. So I'm gonna give you some thoughts on that. One is, when that happens, you can never take it personal. Let me tell you why. Because if you take it personal, like they're leaving you and it hurts you and it's personal, it tends to hurt the relations. And inside you feel kind of a grind and you feel a little bit bitter. Don't take it personal. Here's what I want you to think about doing. Anytime someone is leaving, I want you to think about the fact that you had the opportunity to connect with them, work with them, and even potentially change their life through what you do and your passion. For instance, we have these young students that become black belts and instructors, and even mature students that move away at times. And it's just like, oh man, we're losing such an asset, such a great group, or great helpers on the mat. But here's the reality. Their time in your business and in what you do with you and your passion has improved and changed their life. It's like you've invested in them and invested in them to be leaders and to help them to grow and to help them to change. And so what you want to do is you want to think about it like this. This is what I try really hard to do. I try to think that in that time, at least I was given the opportunity to help them to take their life and potentially make it better than it ever could have been before. Think about what a blessing that is, as opposed to what a kick in the teeth and what a pain it is for you to lose such great people. And next, what I want to talk about real quick along these lines is when they leave, this is the where it becomes very important to have what we call a bench. A bench. Whenever you have a football team, for instance, a football team doesn't just have 11 players that play on the field. They have 2 backup quarterbacks and a couple of backup wide receivers and some backup linemen. They have what's called a bench. And it's not necessarily, I don't want you to think in terms of, team, top team, number 1, best player out on the field, and team number 2 being on the bench, but think in terms of you have all top players, all amazing people, but some of them you aren't ready to either employ or engage in that leadership position yet, so they're kind of on the bench ready to go. And so whenever you have a hole come, you can look to your bench to call someone in and to fill that void. So just so you know what you're dealing with that cyclical, people come in, they get passionate, they get engaged, and they really get in their groove, and then life changes for them and they move away. That's a natural cycle I think that we all deal with, especially in the world of service, in the way that we serve, especially with our students, because they start with us as young martial artists sometimes, and young in the martial arts as in being maybe a 40-year-old white belt, and we grow a great relationship with them over time, and we get close to them, and you kind of become like friends, even though there's a teacher-student, mentor-student relationship there. Get close to them, and it hurts when they leave, and we can't let that be personal. Just imagine what you've invested in them and how that's going to change their life and make them better in their future.
Daniel asks, Mr. Chip, was it hard starting your first martial arts school?
Man, Mr. Daniel, that is a crazy, awesome question. I'm super excited to get the opportunity to try to answer this. Whenever you ask that question, was it hard to start your first school, or was it hard to start? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would be a liar and a fool if I sat here and said, nah, it was a piece of cake. We just jumped in there and ran with it. I was scared out of my pants, scared to death. And what I want to relate it to is, I want to relate it to having children. I'm going to share kind of a personal story with you. My wife and I got married, and we were married for 8 years before we had our first child. And in that time period, we actually considered not having children, because through our martial arts school, many, many times, we were taking kids places, and they were coming over to our house and even spending Christmas with us sometimes because they didn't have a family. And we talked about potentially even adopting and not bringing our own kids into the world, but maybe serving the kids out there that need a place. And after 8 years of that talk and debate and running our martial arts school, one day my wife comes in and she's got tears in her eyes, and I'm like, babe, something's not right. And she says, I hope you're not mad at me. And I'm thinking, mad? I mean, what's gone wrong? I'm thinking she wrecked a car, something bad has happened. And she said, I'm pregnant. And I said, oh my God, how awesome is that? I'm excited. But the point is this: we didn't feel ready. We just didn't feel ready. We didn't feel like we were ready to be parents. We didn't feel like we were prepared to equip a child in this world. We weren't prepared to bring a kid into this world. I mean, you never know what's going to happen next. And to us, it was and still is at times a scary place. And so we weren't ready. But would I go back and would I change that? And did we make it work? And have we, to this juncture, now with our beautiful 16-year-old, have we made that work? Absolutely. So the question is was it hard to start in the beginning for the first location, the first school? Absolutely it was. I had a little bit of a leg up, I'll be honest with you. I took over my instructor school, so I trained in the school from 13 to 23 years old, and in 10 years bought the school out. It was one of our first ventures as a husband and wife, and it was a very scary time. We took our entire life savings, everything that we'd saved up, which wasn't much, believe me, and we handed that out in cash, and we walked into a business with a rented space and good faith and goodwill that there was a student base there, although I trained in the school and taught in the school, and I knew there were some students there, and came in hungry. And I think what's important here is that you maintain sight of your passion. What is your passion? And I think first and foremost, as a successful martial arts school owner, your passion needs to be, you need to be a passionate martial artist first, because you inspire your leadership. And you need to be a business person second. But they're both very important, because in the business of martial arts and any business, there's an interesting dichotomy of the technical skill, which is your martial arts skill on the mat, and your skill at actually running that business, paying taxes and paying insurance and doing all the things that need to happen, renting the space and assume names. Am I a sub S, a partnership? How do I operate my business? But you've got to study those things and think about them and understand how you're going to make them work, and know that you may never feel ready. But the more you study, the more you read, the more you learn about real estate, about where to rent, where to buy, where to get the right place, what is a good location, but yet a location that I can afford as a young entrepreneur because I don't have a lot of money yet. And so how do I put those things together and make them work? That's all very important in that startup process. But here's my last piece for you. Go for it. Don't wait. Don't wait till everybody tells you it's the perfect time. I don't think that if you truly care, you'll ever feel that it's the perfect time. You're going to be scared. You're going to be uncomfortable. You just have to take the step with the faith that you can outwork everybody else. You're going to get it done, that you're hungry. You're going to do it for the right purposes and serve, and that you can do that in a way that will generate you an income and make your life work. So I suggest to you, Mr. Daniel, that you just take that step and go for it, man.
Raphael asks, Chip, what are some of the keys to success in operating multiple martial arts school locations?
Mr. Raphael, man, awesome question. I like that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't feel equipped to answer that question. Although we have 7 locations and there appears to be this success. I mean, we always hit road, bumps in the road and difficult times and little struggles and this and that. I just want to be forthright and honest and upfront with you in that if I told you it was easy, I'd be pulling your leg, man. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work, a lot of planning. But I'm going to give you a few of the keys that I think that we do fairly well in our organization that work for us. I want to share those with you to try to encourage you that when you're ready to take that step, man, just take it. But one of the things about running multiple locations is all but one of our locations, we grew the students and leaders inside at home. We grew them from the inside out, basically. So these guys have a great grasp of what our culture is. When I speak of culture, it's what is the atmosphere in your building? What are the core beliefs and the core character values that you care about in your business that are important to you? Are you sharing them with your leaders enough so that they can embrace those and make them a part of who they are? And are those values good? Are they values that people want to latch on to in today's society in these times? But I think one of the keys for us in running multiple locations is that the majority of our leaders, like I said, other than one location, actually grew up inside our main location, training directly with us for years. And so therefore, when they said, hey, I'd like to open my own place or go on my own, there was already a huge level of trust between us in that I know this guy or this girl is a great teacher. I know they're a great communicator. I know they're responsible and they're going to do their job and work very hard. And so for us, that aspect was made a little bit easier in that. The next thing is that I want to share with you is that we require all of our locations to be on a weekly Google Plus, and this is a little tidbit that's powerful because I've talked to a lot of people that don't know this and haven't thought about it yet, is Google Plus meetings. And what that means is we have a weekly instructor meeting, we have a weekly staff meeting, and the staff meeting is geared more towards the office, your sales, your projections, your budgeting, and the things that you do to run your office smoothly, and how that connects to the mat, because we all know that I can run a great office and have great systems and stuff in place, but if I don't deliver as a great martial artist, a great communicator and leader, a person of character on the mat, none of it's going to matter, man. You can have the best systems in the world, but if you don't have character and heart and work ethic and you're not willing to hustle, it's just not going to work for you anyway. So we have weekly meetings, staff meetings geared toward the office, and instructor meetings geared towards the mat. And we require our locations to get on via Google Plus. I keep saying Google Plus because it's a free way to internet video chat with them. And we can even walk through techniques and little details on the mat for the instructors, and they can follow along and do that at their locations. It helps keep us on the same page so that when all of our students come together from each location, it's really kind of hard to tell which location did they come from, because we put a lot of pride, I don't know if that's a good word, but a lot of pride in the fact that we want them not to be robots, but we want them to be the same. We want them to have the same foundation to jump from, for lack of better words. So those weekly meetings equate to great get this word, great communication. We have a high level of trust because we grew them from the inside and we've developed a long-term relationship already. And then we have a high level of communication because we talk all the time and that door is wide open. You know, you've heard of the open door policy. My door is open for you. Come in anytime. That's the truth, man. If any of my guys text me, call me anytime, they know that if I don't answer right away, I'm probably either in a meeting, in a class, or teaching or training, and I'll get right back to them. And we always openly communicate about everything that we do. And then the last thing is I think it's super important in my position as the what's perceived as the leader of the organization. We have a lot of leaders, but what's perceived as a leader, I'm just kind of a body that gets things done, and as the way I see it, is that I support their efforts. In other words, whenever someone opens a new location, I will commonly at least once a month, whether it's a 4-hour drive to Oklahoma City from where I'm at, or San Antonio, Texas, or wherever, I'll be there once a month for a period of time. I'll even go in for a week sometimes and stay and help teach and help visit with the parents and create a sense of comfort and let them know, let the people at that location know that I have their back. And let the students and the clientele come in know that whoever's opening that location has a support system behind them, which is huge, that we're going to be there for them to back them and encourage them and work with them and maintain a high level of professionalism. So I'll kind of rehash that because that was a lot, and we could go for hours really on this issue. But really big points and big things of interest for you. Grow great leaders. And they don't have to be from the inside, but that's a very powerful way to do it, and one way that's been successful for us. Have weekly and monthly and quarterly meetings where your guys are on video with each other, sharing with each other, talking to each other, asking questions, brainstorming together. And lastly, support their efforts, man. I can't tell you enough how important it is to, when your guys work hard at something, tell them, man, I am proud of you. You're working hard. So with that said, those are just some of the things, a few of the things that we do, not to mention systemization and duplication and all of these things that we do to run multiplications. But that right there is just some of the core values that we put into multiple locations. There we go. We finished up episode number 1. How exciting was that? Great stuff, great questions, and I can't wait to hear more from everybody out there. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. Submit your questions on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and hashtag them, hashtag Chip on the Mat with no spaces, so we can access those and answer your questions for you on the next episode of our YouTube show, Chip on the Mat. And don't forget, lastly, to subscribe to the channel. I can't wait to hear from you soon.